when people are using social media, they're using it for their own entertainment. And the activity they are doing is not looking for coaching or looking for help from anyone, but they are updating themselves on their social life. So what we need to do as coaches is to interrupt that activity by using our marketing to captivate them long enough to get their interest so that they will look closer into who you are. And if they do, you need to let them know who you are by giving them a short biograph of who you are as a coach.
So today is about messaging, and it's about how to upgrade your messaging so it actually speaks, because I think the biggest problem in marketing for most people is that it's vague, it's unclear, and it doesn't really speak to the ideal avatar. So today's episode is all about messaging. And before we dig in, I'm really curious to hear, what are you excited about right now in your life?
So right now we are moving forward with building our new office in the old stable that we have on our ranch. And the contractors are working very efficiently, which is super cool and super fun and exciting to see. Apart from that, I get to build a lot, and I just rented a machine that carry a lot of stuff, so I can move stuff around. So I've built a wall on our property to cover a future parking lot that we're building. So it's 25 meters long and it's 4 meters wide. So I'm excited about all that.
That's interesting. You know what? I was just thinking about when we're setting up the podcast for today. I was just like so excited about that we're going to get the new podcast studio soon. We've been in this like in between studio for a while, so we're finally going to get the new studios ready.
And
soon.
it's going to be so great.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm excited for that as well. So today, let's talk about the problem that coaches have with marketing or messaging is niching, especially new coaches. And yesterday, I actually had day one on our new event, Sales with Integrity, a 4-day mini course we had with a group of coaches. So I went through this yesterday, and it's not the first time I'm doing this training. I mean, had like probably 6,000 people going through this training by now. And it is the same today as what it was 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
Yeah, and 20 years ago. Just a quick share. In 2016, in my previous company, we hired a marketing agency, like a big one in Sweden, to come in and create an avatar for our business. And first of all, wildly expensive. Like ridiculously expensive, because there were a lot of professional and they have studied marketing and they came from zero business experience, but they had the skill of like being a marketer. I'm educated. And they helped us to single out 3 different avatars. So there was family couple, there was ambitious woman, and then there was an analytical man. And these were the 3 different avatars that we were going to target and we were going to speak to. And with the knowledge that I have today, that was money down the toilet big time. Because the biggest problem that people doesn't understand, it's you need to study marketing, you need to understand the fundamentals of it and what makes good marketing. So that's one part. But what you also need to do is understand how to apply it and captivate people's attention. And the best thing that you can do in order to learn to be a good marketer is to really put on the marketing lenses or the marketing glasses in order to view the world through a marketing lens and think marketing in your day-to-day. So when you're going through your life, that you actually see marketing in everything, because that's the only way of really figuring out how to promote yourself in a way that it's captivating enough to stop someone in their scrolling. Now, the second part of it is that you need to start to get the response rate from other people so that you get other people's reaction to your marketing to understand how to do it better. Because the only way you can become a good marketer is to use the data and use the conversations and use your experience moving forward to be even more clear about what you do, who you help, and what you help them achieve.
So the problem with you in your previous business was that you got 3 different avatars instead of deciding on one avatar so you could speak to one. And I think that is the same problem I see all the time. That fear of excluding potential clients. That is a typical thing we see a lot. It comes from both. I don't want to exclude anyone because I'm afraid I can't make money in my business if I'm not trying to take care of everyone. But also the other part is I want to help everyone. I can help everyone. And I need to say this all the time. I mean, yes, just because you can help everyone, from a purpose of marketing, it's not a good idea to try to communicate like you want to help everyone, because you're trying to communicate too wide, too broad, and no one will really understand that it's them you're talking to. Those are the main issues. And I understand. I had it myself. You remember when we started? Today, we only speak to coaches. Our messaging in the beginning was like, we help coaches, consultants, and mentors, and
Specialists.
it was like, do, because we didn't want to exclude everyone or anyone.
Anyone, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't like to do that. So we were in the same trap ourselves until it took a long time to really just accept that we cannot try to talk to everyone, include everyone, because it's just too vague and too long. But on the one hand side, it's about not wanting to exclude anyone or feeling like I can help anyone. But on the other side, it's also like trying to have the messaging sound too cool or smart or specific or unique. There's a lot of ego that sometimes comes in the way.
There are so many times where the foundational messaging is just shooting over people's head because they can't understand it, because they're using a language that isn't clear. Like, I help people do X with my ultra significant, super duper coaching style technique. And it's something that you've invented, which is cool, which is great for you. But you're not going to be able to use it in your marketing because it's something of your creation. You need to use words that speaks to people. You're not trying to present the cool stuff that you've created. And like you said, it's the ego talking.
Absolutely. So there's some myth that we once and for all we need to burst these. If you niche down, you lose people. Wrong. No, you won't. Clarity attract people.
Yeah.
We need clarity. We need a clear, short message that is attracting the right person instead of trying to comfort everyone and have everyone fit into one thing. And then the other one, they will understand what I mean. False. That is your false assumption. And assumptions like that, they kill conversions. You cannot hope they'll believe, or I believe they will understand me. Well, you only know if you're actually using the exact words that your clients who are already paid for your program, they said to you in a sales call. That's the only way you would know and not believe that they will understand. Don't try to guess things here.
Yeah, and I remember out of all the different people that we targeted in the beginning, specialists and all of the consultants, mentors and all, the last thing we took out before we helped only coaches was therapists. And one of the biggest insights that kind of explains this problem is that when we took out therapists, like before we took out therapists, we attracted therapists. Then we took out therapists. So we stopped talking to therapists like completely. Guess what? Therapists still showed up. And the reason why they showed up is because the more specific we become, the more relatable it is. And the more relatable it is, the more people will be attracted to it if they can see a resemblance to what they are doing themselves. And that is a very key thing. I don't want to give away the complete solution, but it's important that we understand that specificity, when we are very specific, it attracts both the people you're speaking to, but also everyone that can resemble themselves with that scenario. So you're not going to exclude the people that goes around the prime avatar of who you're targeting. On the contrary, if you study marketing and if you go to a marketer and get help creating your avatar, they will single out one person. Like, create your dream client and speak to that dream client. Blonde hair, blue eyes, 26 years old, man, blah, 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 went to this school, have this kind of diet, whatever. They are singling out all the habits of that person. And then you're speaking to that person. How many of that person exists? Well, maybe a few, but you're not going to reach them, but you're going to reach everyone else because of how specific you are. And for me, that was a great learning. And it was something that I could see as a receipt. We took out therapists out of marketing and we still got therapists coming into the funnel.
Absolutely. And an example I think I heard from one of the people who was attending the event, not this time, but last time, was something like, we hear often these vague things like, I help you align with your soul purpose. What on earth does that even mean? Because see, the thing is, you're the expert And if you're trying to use a jargon or some words that speaks to you, I just want you to remember, you're the expert. They're not. You need to speak to people where they are to get them to where you want them to be. You cannot use vague communication like that. I think this coach got to a place where she took that vague messaging, helped you align with your soul purpose, and turned it into, I help moms. So instead of saying you, we went into moms, because you need to be clear who's you. No one feels like you, because if you say you in your messaging, you're kind of pointing fingers and you don't know them at this point. It's too close.
And what's going to happen is people are going to stop reading it.
Yeah.
Because if you say I help you to create X, what they're going to look at is not the X. Is X interesting? They're going to question, are you helping me really? You aren't. And then they're going to move on.
Yeah. So speak besides them, align with them, and have them up themselves into, oh, that's me. Better have them come into you instead of you trying to point them out.
Yeah, and it's like, to think of it, it's kind of like if you meet someone in an elevator, the message should be something you can answer if that person asks.
That's funny.
What do you what do you do for a living? If you say, I help you to do this thing, but like, no, you aren't. So do the elevator test on your like baseline communication, your message, because it's going to help you to figure out, is this something that I could actually say in an elevator? Just as you say, soul purpose and all, the same thing is like, I help women create their dream life.
Yeah.
You know, it's so generic that it speaks about women, which is half the population on Earth. And then the other part is dream life. Dream life means literally just as many different things as there are human beings on this planet.
So this coach actually got to, I help moms quit burnout and launch their first business, instead of, I help you align with your soul purpose. You see, like, I hope everyone hears the difference. I help moms quit burnout and launch their first business. It's specific.
Yeah. And when on the topic of spirituality and, you know, soul purpose and everything that kind of are borderline spiritual, I just want to say that there is a lot of spirituality out there. That's good if you're a spiritual coach, because it means that you have a lot of candidates. But my biggest tip for you is to tone down the spirituality in your marketing. Be a spiritual being and have that as a power and a tool in your toolkit, but be specific in your choose of words, because you are going to lose so many people if you are going wild and crazy with pink clouds and purple rocks.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry if I offend anyone, because it's not my intention. What my intention is, tone down the spirituality so that you can be taken seriously long enough so that they can experience your spirituality rather than understand from the get-go that you're a yogi super person.
Yeah. So vague messaging, words like, I help you get freedom, get aligned, or reach your goal, or like this, your soul purpose, like very vague conversations. They're just on a too high level. And what happens when we have these very vague messages is that, first of all, we don't get the same engagement, because you cannot align with it. You cannot connect to it. It doesn't touch anything. It's just speaking over people's head. Like, I think we can all agree we all want freedom. But if I'm not describing freedom, what that specifically means, it's just a word.
Yeah. And here's the thing. People who see it might feel that, that's a really nice sentence.
Yeah.
But that's all it's ever going to be.
It's not touching anything.
No, because it's not going to invite to future engagement, and it's not going to invite for a conversation.
Yeah.
And if you say that in an elevator, like, what you do for a living, oh, I help women to achieve their soul purpose in life. That person is probably going to be like, okay, I don't understand that, but I also don't want to understand more. So I'm not going to ask follow-up questions. I'm rather going to say, okay, that sounds really cool. And then end of conversation. But if you were to say, I help moms quit burnout and start their first business, the immediate reaction that's going to come is, okay, cool. What does that mean? Well, I work with moms, so that's who I work with. And primarily people who've experienced burnout to get their passion back in their life. And if I were to explain it with my own words, connect to their soul purpose. And if you said it that way, you get in the same language. But the thing is, you're going to have their attention. And it doesn't matter if the person you're speaking to is a man and not a father who can't relate to it. It creates interest because of specificity.
And if like being vague, it also means that when you're going to have conversations, let's say you have a DM conversation or you're having a sales call, if you're always speaking this vaguely, it's not leading anywhere. No. It's not really touching anything. And you're certainly not giving any clarity to a person you're having conversation with because it's not clear. So that's the thing. But the biggest problem is it is not attracting the people who's the right fit for you because they don't know they're the fit.
No.
And
No,
you haven't really designed like who is the perfect fit for you. So you'll probably just be attracting people who are very like flowy, which also most of the times mean probably not in a place where they want to invest in themselves or go on and get serious about it.
Yeah, but they would love to hang around you about free stuff and
it's very
jump on a
nice.
conversation, but your conversion rate on the sales calls are going to be very low.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make it too low of a level. I just like the most important thing is to really understand and realize that specificity is the way to go with marketing. Be ultra specific with what you say. Because the moment it's relatable, you're going to attract everyone that can relate to that problem or that is close to that problem or that goal or aspiration or whatever. Equal to, we have had a lot of clients who I help women to do this thing, who get men in their funnel.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm not a woman, but like this is exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And our clients have sold to them as well, because it doesn't have to be that you're building like a female group just because you're working with women. It's just that you've chosen to do that way in your marketing. And it also boils down to understanding the differences between marketing and delivering in your coaching. Because you can deliver whatever you want in whatever way that you desire, as long as you are helping the people you help towards their outcome, the guarantee or the promises or the reason they bought your program. So as long as you go towards that, you can give them whatever. But the same goes with methods. If like I help blah 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 do blah 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 via mindfulness or via skateboarding, like it doesn't matter if it's mindfulness, skateboarding, or anything else, or like gym or physical training. Because the problem is, the moment you put in a method into your communication, you have to sell two things. You have to sell the method and you have to sell the outcome.
The promise,
and they need to want both. They need to want the result, and they need to believe that method is going to take them there.
Really good, yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, that won't collaborate. Because if it really is that mindfulness leads to the outcome they desire, then they don't need to know that. And if they believe that it doesn't, they're never going to invest in the coaching.
No, that's very clear. And even worse, you put in your name of your program or the name of a method you invented yourself. So it's not really a known name, but you just invented something, my blah, blah, blah thing. It means a lot to you. You probably have a lot of passion for that name because you've been working with it for a while, and it means a lot, but it means absolutely zip and nothing for the person reading it. And it only breeds like, well, instead of listening to the outcome I could get, they're focusing on that word, like, don't know what it is, move on. You lost them because, and again, that's the ego again speaking. I think my thing is cool and I'm focusing on, I want to market my thing. But marketing is not about your thing. Marketing is about what is the outcome you help them to achieve. It's about your audience, not about you.
Yeah, very good distinction. Your marketing is never about selling yourself. No. It's about helping them realize that they can achieve something for them.
That they want, yeah.
Marketing is never about you. Never. Very important. Well said.
Well said. Well, I just want to share another one because we had a client, Anna, and she had another one I remember so clearly because she had a messaging saying, I help women step into their power.
Yeah.
Awful.
Yeah.
And even though I say awful, I also know I offend a lot of people because that is exact message I probably heard working with, like we have 800 clients, but we were working with near to 6,000 coaches in the last 6 years. I think that exact message, I think I've heard that literally more than 50 times.
Yeah. And here's the thing, sentence-wise, okay.
Sounds fine.
Marketing-wise, terrible. I also want to emphasize that this isn't our opinions. This is our experience from working with more than 6,000 people. And it's very important that we realize that it's not about liking it. It's about doing what works. And we might not fall in love with our message to begin with, but when we see what it generates, then we can fall in love with the message.
But this is what happens when we're afraid of niching down.
Yeah.
We're trying to speak too broad because the second question we always should ask ourselves is like, what does that mean? What does step into the power? What would that look like on a daily basis? What would stepping into the power, what would that look like? It can be so different. Yeah, but then you're too wide. Then you're too broad, trying to speak to too many. So what could be a good thing, like stepping into the power, what could be one place that could be used that you think would be excited to speak about? And Anna got to the place where she moved it into, I help corporate women quit their 9-to-5 job and build a 5K month side hustle.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
That is clear, specific. Now we don't help women, corporate women, quit the 9-to-5 job, saying that they are stuck in a job, stuck in the rat race. That's not what they want. So step into the power was about not just being in the rat race, but making a decision about creating something they really want. And what's a funny thing for her to work with was like build a 5K month side hustle.
Yeah. It's clear, and definitely.
It's a very clear one. And because it's so clear, so it has some details I wanted to go into.
Yeah.
First of all, it speaks of like clear to corporate women have a 9-to-5. That speaks to people who feel stuck. But what is interesting is a very specific number. It's not just build a business, because that would still be vague, but build a 5K month. Now, the 5K is what people would look at and say, wow, that's a lot of money. I could actually live on that. If I could make 5K a month, I could actually let go of my business. So it's not a side hustle anymore, but there will be a transition. Let's go into how should we be thinking about creating these messages? Well, first thing is pick one person, one problem. That's the first thing. We need to have a clear who and a clear what we solve or what problem we fix. Then we want to make sure we use their language, not your language. And how do you know? Well, if you're just starting up, to be frank, you need to go out and test it. If you are congruent in what you're doing, and that means that you had the problem, you can go back and say, well, how did you speak about it at the time you were in their shoes? Use those words. The best thing is you need to hear it from your audience. And the most reliable source is clients. When you have had sales calls with someone who actually bought your program, what they said on the sales call is the words you should be using. Until then, you do copy on content, and then you see, does people actually react to this or no? Where do you get the ideal avatar to raise their hand and say, that's me, and get in communication with you?
Yeah.
So it's a test your way forward. And then, like what you just said, borrow from what works.
Yeah.
Like use things that we know works. And what is it that works? Well, what works is it's always good to be specific with numbers or within times, or even if like, well, it's not possible for me because of this. Then you use the even if you have this thing, like how to lose 5 kilos in 7 weeks, even if you love chocolate.
Yeah, or even if you can't go to the gym,
Even
or even
if
if you can't leave the house.
Even if you can't leave the house. Yeah. Or even if you have a sore back.
Yeah.
Right? So that could be, or we can use another phrase. We can use the without. Without is handling the things they don't want to do. I help coaches to get 5K month without doing cold calling, or without paying for ads, without doing things they don't believe they want to do. Again, these words makes it even more specific for your avatar. They recognize themselves more clearly. And then like once we do this, it's literally just test it. Put it in your bio, put it in your copy, make short form copy where you use this for micro giveaways so you can really quickly get it tested.
And fail fast.
And fail for free. If
Absolutely.
you're at this stage where you're testing your messaging, don't put it into ads at this. Then you're too early.
Yeah, and it's going to be expensive. And whenever you make slight changes to your messaging, you want to test it. So it doesn't matter if you're 20K, you still want to test it. If you're making 500,000 euros a month and make a change, you still want to test it. But if you're at that level, it's going to happen like automatically because you're just so used to navigate marketing. But it's really about understanding that, okay, I need a marketing lens when looking at my communication of my business, because marketing is a skill. And like any skill, you can learn how to become a car mechanic in school, but you learn how to become a car mechanic really tearing engines apart and putting them back together. Because that's where it actually happens. If an agency or a marketer comes to you with zero business experience, their experience are limited, like vastly limited. Real life experience is gonna outrule any marketing education. It's gonna blow it out of the water every time.
Yeah.
So, and what we're really doing here is learning how to build an attractive language and attractive communication. And you said something before, like speak to them in their language. And there is a saying that is, speak to farmers the way farmers speak and with it taught in Latin. So what that means is you are going to have a specific language. Use that with your clients. Teach your clients your language, but understand that everyone else have no idea about the inside of what you're doing. So forget about methods, forget about processes, forget about the stuff that you've learned, forget about the specific wordings that you learned in your coaching education, if it's shadow sides or if it's timeline therapy or if it's hypnosis or whatever it is. Don't sell the method, don't sell the language or the processes or the stuff that you know, because yes, it's going to be the solution, but you need to speak to the people that doesn't know that that's going to be the solution in a way so that you can have a conversation about them, because it's not about you. And we can't stress that enough. It's not about you.
So let's wrap this up. I created a little bit of a help guide for you to upgrade your wordings. So I made 60 ways of upgrading your coaching messaging. So there's a link below here in the podcast. If you listen to this somewhere where you can't find it, make sure you find it on YouTube and go in and you will have 60 ways to upgrade your coaching messaging so it becomes a little bit more sharp.
Yeah, and it's always gonna grow and change and become better. Don't look for perfection. Don't try to find the perfect message. Make a decision, test it out, change based on data, based on experience. That's when you change the message. Never change or try to develop a perfect message without having other people showing you that it either works or doesn't work.
If you like this episode, make sure you subscribe and follow us on our Instagram to get more free trainings.
Yeah.
See you next time.
Bye.